The 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans was my all-time favorite motor race. The never-ending battle between Audi and Peugeot for the overall win solidified the race as an instant classic, but it was far from smooth sailing for the competitors who challenged it. Corvette Racing crashed from the lead with a little over 7 hours to go. Alan McNish and Mike Rockenfeller both survived violent high-speed crashes in their respective Audi R18s, leaving the number 2 car alone to fight off 4 Peugeot 908s in the final two-thirds of the race. And Aston Martin Racing couldn't even make it past lap 4 with their all-new LMP1 car. This is the story about the latter, the Aston Martin AMR-One, the worst LMP1 car of all time. Aston Martin is no stranger to success at Le Mans. The British manufacturer won overall in 1959 in the hands of Roy Salvadori and Carroll Shelby. They also won back-to-back in 2007 and 2008 in the GT1 class, and more recently won in 2017 and 2020 in the GTE Pro class. After their set of wins in the GT1 class, Aston Martin Racing decided to focus their attention on fighting for the overall win again. This was no easy task in the late 2000s. Audi and Peugeot were at the peak of their diesel war, each with 3 fully factory-entered cars. Aston's first foray into the late 2000s prototype ranks was with the addition of the factory-supported Charouz Lola B0860 in 2008. Powering the Lola was the same 6-liter V12 from the DBR9 GT1 car. Credit where it's due, the car performed quite well, out-qualifying one of the factory Audi R10s at the 2008 24 Hours of Le Mans, and finishing 9th overall. In 2009, Aston Martin tripled down on their prototype investment with the new Lola B0960. The car was a modified version of the B0860 that they had run from a year prior, with Aston Martin styling cues and some performance upgrades. Aston Martin entered 3 of these cars in the 2009 24 Hours of Le Mans, 2 under the Aston Martin Racing banner, and 1 as an alliance between AMR and Charouz. Once again, they had the fastest petrol-powered cars in the field, and the 007 car managed to finish only 3 laps off the overall podium. After picking up the 2009 Le Mans Series Championship, confidence must have been high at Aston Martin. An off-the-shelf Lola chassis with minimal modifications and a GT1 engine was able to put themselves on Audi and Peugeot's radar. With that mindset, it's understandable that Aston Martin looked at the 2011 LMP1 regulations as a chance to design a car from the ground up that could potentially contend for the win. Enter the Aston Martin AMR-One. Let's start for the design choice with this car, which on the surface made no sense. Aston Martin decided to stray away from the closed cockpit design in favor of an open cockpit car for the first time in the LMP1 era. You may argue that Audi was able to sweep the podium in 2010 with their open cockpit R15, but that win was a bit of a fluke, with every Peugeot retiring during the race. Rumor has it that Aston Martin and ProDrive, the car's manufacturer, decided that an open cockpit car would be cheaper and more time efficient to design, without the need to incorporate doors, a windshield, and wipers. The downside of these measures was unsurprisingly more drag. But the real performance deficit wasn't due to the AMR-One's chassis, no. The real hit came with the engine. Gone in the new car was Aston Martin's signature dish V12 from the prototypes before it. In its place was an all-new 2-liter turbocharged inline-6. And before I move on, I do have to give this car a chance to showcase its incredible soundtrack. Sound aside, this engine was a disaster. The first issue with it was structural durability. The design of this inline-6 engine in particular means that it was longer than a V8 while having almost half the volume. This made the engine especially prone to flexing under high loads, which obviously isn't ideal in a top-class Le Mans prototype. As a result, ProDrive had to add steel bars to the engine bay for structural support, which unsurprisingly added weight and upset the balance of the car. The next issue with this engine was power. The engine had to be detuned to offset its poor reliability, and as a result, they were running with significantly less power than the Audis and Peugeots they stacked up against. At the Le Mans test day in April 2011, it was rumored that the AMR-One was only putting out a tick over 300 horsepower, but these numbers would mean that the car had an unrealistically low coefficient of drag, and Mulsanne's corner predicted that the car was actually putting out roughly 400 to 440 horsepower at Le Mans. I'll leave their calculations in the description for those interested. Even if the car was putting out 450 horsepower, it was still a far cry from the near 600 seen from the Audi R18 and Peugeot 908 in the same test, and as a result, the AMR-One lost nearly 24 seconds from the leading R18 over the 3.5 minute lap. The fastest top speed recorded from the AMR-One during the official Le Mans test was a measly 187 miles per hour down the Mulsanne straight. Again, a far cry from the standard 200 plus miles per hour from the LMP1 cars. And the final issue with the new car, perhaps even more so than the engine, was the time frame that this car was designed and built in. Supposedly, the majority of the AMR-One's design began in the later stages of 2010, and the car was going to need to be on track in February of 2011 for early testing. This limited time frame meant that when the car did begin testing and the reliability issues arose, there was little time to try to fix them before the car's race debut. These factors, among others, led to the car's competitive history being a short one. Their debut at the 2011 6 Hours of Castellet featured only one car which qualified behind most of the LMP2 field. In the race, the team only completed 96 laps, almost half of the race-winning Pescarolo's 185 laps. Aston Martin Racing decided to pull their entry from the 1,000 kilometers of Spa to more thoroughly test the car. Despite the continued testing, it was at Le Mans where the car really showed its faults. 2 AMR-Ones were entered into the 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans. The 007 car driven by Stefan Mucke, Darren Turner, and Christian Klein, and the 009 car driven by Harold Premat, Adrian Fernandez, and Andy Meyrick. In qualifying for the 24-hour race, neither car was faster than you might have expected. The 007 car qualified 22nd, and the 009 qualified 25th. Both cars were more than 20 seconds slower than the pole-sitting Audi R18, and both were slower than a handful of the LMP2 cars. But hey, it's a 24-hour race, and as Nissan showed in 2015, having an ill-prepared car qualify near the bottom won't prevent you from finishing the race. Yeah, well, it did in this case. The 009 car was the first retirement of the race after, count them on one hand, 2 laps. The sister 007 car managed to double that with an impressive 4 laps before it too was retired due to engine issues. Ironically, a privateer Aston Martin B0960 did take part in the race, and they finished quite well, 7th overall after 24 hours. Aston Martin once again decided to pull their entries from the next round of the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, the 6 Hours of Imola, to continue developing the AMR-One, but the damage was already done. A detuned version of the V12 B0960 was called into action for the rest of the 2011 season, and the AMR-One project was scrapped by the end of the year. And so it was finished. Aston Martin's project that they hoped could bring them their first overall win at Le Mans in over 50 years was out the window. Aston Martin solely ran their factory program in the GTE class before ending the GTE Pro program at the end of 2020. And with their planned Cosworth V12-powered Le Mans hypercar appearing off the table for good, it seems that it could be a while before we see another top-class contender at Le Mans from Aston Martin. But there was still one last bullet in the chamber for the now-dead AMR-One project. Rather, 2. The chassis of the car was designed primarily for low drag despite being open cockpit, making it ideal for the long straights at Le Mans. As a result, both chassis were shipped off to become the backbone for 2 new projects. The first was sent to Pescarolo, who made very few modifications to the AMR-One body, but replaced the turbocharged inline-6 engine with a Judd V8. This car too struggled with pace and reliability though, and retired from the 2012 24 Hours of Le Mans after only 20 laps due to a power steering failure. Speaking of the 2012 24 Hours, another car in that race utilized the second AMR-One chassis, the Delta Wing. The radically designed Garage 56 entry into the 2012 24 Hours of Le Mans surprised many people, but unfortunately, it too had to be retired after contact from the number 7 Toyota TS030 caused the car to crash just over 6 hours in. That chassis continued running until its final race at the 2013 American Le Mans Series race at Road America, before the Delta Wing went to an all-new closed cockpit design. So there you have it, 10 years on, the story of the Aston Martin AMR-One. In my eyes, the worst LMP1 car of all time. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate you clicking the like button, and consider subscribing for more sports car racing content. Sorry I've been slacking on the videos a bit lately, but with summer coming up soon, I'll be uploading much more frequently. Until the next video, take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.